main customers is the BMW Group, where we are the leading branding agency, and so therefore I'm happy that we can discuss on that subject later on too. And we are working for some other companies, and many of the brands we're working for are export brands, and therefore I would like to present you just a few things on export marketing, export branding from our experience. So you will see a very practical oriented presentation, and I'm happy to discuss some of the issues also later on with you after the presentation. So what I would like to address today in my presentation, two issues or two subjects. The first is what are crucial success factors of branding in general, and this as a basis to answer or just to address at a glance the second question, what should be considered when leveraging a brand to foreign markets? Meaning, when entering with a brand to other markets, what do we have to keep in mind? What do we have to consider? What are failures which we should not do? And I would like to start with the first question. What are crucial success factors in branding? So just in general, why do we talk about branding? Yeah, because we don't want and we cannot shop like that. When we go into a supermarket, we need brands because brands give our offering or give the offering of companies a face. And brands provide orientation. It's a very old example with the Intel and side effect, this so-called internal branding. But it's still one of the best branding jobs, to my mind, which I've done in the last 25 to 30 years. Because Intel made such a good job that there was a time when it didn't matter who did or who produced this plastic casing around the processor. It was just important that there was an Intel inside, and that was a proof of quality. So this brand gave orientation. Why do we talk about brands? Why branding? Because brands create trust. Yesterday I flew from Cologne over Munich to Tallinn. And imagine you have to go today, later on, to for example, to New York. Would you get in here relaxed, step in onto that plane relaxed, or would you rather step in here? So it's for Germans very important to take the Lufthansa as an airline, because everybody in Germany knows that no Lufthansa plane yet was falling out of the sky. There was no disaster so far, and so that is one of the most important instruments or most important effect a brand can have. A brand creates trust. Because we have associations, we have emotions, we have ideas of an offering a brand creates, and this is learned over years. But brands can also be very emotional. Brands can make us proud, as Harley-Davidson for some people, especially in the US, or other architects or lawyers. The average age of a Harley-Davidson driver is, I think, at the moment 62. So it's not this young rebel anymore. It's the one who wants to be a young rebel. But it makes these people proud. It makes them that proud that not only this guy has a tattoo of the Harley-Davidson logo on his back. And this is not an individual case. This is something which you can see with many brands. I wouldn't do that, but some people do that, and especially in the US, brands are so, let's say, sort of a religion to people, and brands are a symbol of identification in many cases. But, okay, so far to the emotional or to the social factors of brandings. At the same time, brands can and do generate added value. And there still Coca-Cola is one of the best examples. Some of you or most of you will know that the Coca-Cola company And there are brand ratings. For example, the company Interbrand is conducting brand valuations every year. And the brand of Coca-Cola is taxed by $70 billion US, just the value of the rights of the brand Coca-Cola worldwide. And if you would like to buy the brand Coca-Cola or the company Coca-Cola tomorrow, if you just buy the building sites, the production facilities, and everything, all the hard facts the company is owning, you have to pay $50 billion US, or you have to pay 20 billion US dollars when you buy it, including the rights of the brand, and that shows how powerful and how valuable brands can be, and that brands are the major asset of some of the companies. For example, with Apple, I think at the moment it's the most valuable brand in the world, and the value of the brand is quite a big proportion of the company value as well. So this is so nice, and brands are so powerful, so everybody wants to become a brand. What do we need to consider when we want to become a brand? And just a question, I don't know here in Estonian, perhaps you can answer that to me, but in Germany there are at the moment more than 1.2 million brands registered. 70,000 brands are added there every year. And brands are just, when you look at the brands I have in my presentation, or you have in presentation around the world, it's only a few brands. And that's because the capacity of our heads, of our brains, is so limited. We are not able to remember that many words even. The average amount of words we can keep in our head is around about 7,000 to 9,000 words. And 70,000 brands are added there only in Germany every year. So that's the fight a brand has to win. And how can we do that? In general, I must say, I'm a branding guy. There are too many brands around the world. Too many people who want to be a brand. You cannot cope with that. So, but there are a few things if we want to become a brand, and we need to become a brand in order to be good in our export, because, like for example Nokia or Apple or some other brands, we need, or BMW or Mini, people need to have an image of our offering. Regarding our offering, and what do we need to consider? And I would like to explain that in the next few minutes. One example, Apple. Apple, I would like to start with a very short movie which is from the early 90s and which is expressing what the brand is about still today.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. Push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
So you still see here the old colored Apple logo, the old picture mark. Think different. That's the idea behind the brand, the central idea behind the brand. And It is the idea behind the brand now for more than 20 years. And with this idea in mind, focusing on that strong idea, they brought it alive via different products. Some of us have used or applied products of that brand. So that is one example. Another example, I don't know if it's that common here in your country, TUI, a travel company or corporation in Germany. There was a question, it was a time when a former big corporation, Preußer, decided to go for a new strategy to really focus on the travel business, and they had to align 64 different brands and bring them together. And the idea there was behind the TUI Smiley, the Travel Union International, that's the name behind that, putting a smile on people's faces. If it's on the plane, if it's the incoming agency, if it's in the hotel, wherever, the whole journey should be a journey where you can smile and where people put a smile on your face. Or another brand, another industry, Adidas. Adidas, impossible is nothing. That was the idea of Adolf Dassler right from the beginning, the startup of the company. And some people say that Bern, the soccer world tournament, and the success of Germany wouldn't hadn't been possible without the soccer shoe made by Adolf Dassler. Or when you look on the lower right side, in 1936, it was not really politically correct at that time to do as a German company to do a sponsorship of Jesse O in 1936 in Berlin. And this was something which Adidas always did, which drives the brand still today. Or, and this is one example, I think probably we hear a bit of that too. BMW, to my mind, one of the most successful automotive brands in the world. I believe that one reason for that is that BMW is very, very consistent in brand management, and that they focus on this word joy in everything they do with the brand BMW. Joy is full speed ahead in advertising, in sponsoring, or Freude schreibt man seit 10 Jahren mit X. Joy is written for more than 10 years with an X for X5, X3, etc. Or you see here the BMW World in Munich. So this is something where which this brand is about. It's about dynamics and joy. And so what you can see here is 4 examples, 4 different industry and 1 mechanism when we talk about branding. This mechanism is focusing activities on one central idea. This is very, very important. We always say a people or a company, a brand who is talking about everything is saying nothing. And this is very important when we talk about branding. Another issue, the second very important step when we want to become a brand is why do we recognize these brands at first sight? On the lower right side, you probably know what's happening now. They homogenize their appearance. Wherever you notice, you see that brand, it's always typical. This is the second effect brands have. The third, Coca-Cola. Why is this brand one of the most valuable ones in the world? Because it ensures continuity of branding over time. The Coca-Cola bottle, I don't know, who knows, how old is a Coca-Cola bottle? This one. Or since when does it stay almost unchanged? just slide optimizations. 15? 50s? Yeah, it was even more. It was 1919 when this Coca-Cola bottle was designed and introduced to the market. So almost 100 years, and that's what branding is about. To really stick to what you decided. Branding needs time. When we talk about brands, it's nothing else than learning theory. We need to learn brands. And when you look at brands which you like and which you know in details, then these are brands which ensure continuity over time. Somebody who changes the position of a brand every other year, he won't gain a very strong image. And some companies, unfortunately, good for us because we make business with that. No, but really, unfortunately, when they have a new CEO, they always have a new brand. People tend to show, okay, I'm the new guy. So the first thing, and which is really easy to do, is just change 3 words, the 3 brand values. This is easy and fast done, but this dilutes brand value. And for example, with BMW, there was no chance for a new CEO to change the brand BMW from dynamic to familiar or to a family brand or something like that. That would never be possible. So this is very, very, very important when we should keep that in mind when we talk about branding. So it's 3 steps to be considered. The focus of the activities on one central idea. Homogenize the appearance wherever you are with your brand and ensure continuity over time. And this is also, when we talk about export marketing, very important. I come back to that later. What strengthens brands? What makes a brand a really strong brand? And here I would like to show one example. From the brand Mini, and just focusing on branding issues. All of you know that this is also a pretty old brand with the roots in the United Kingdom, and this brand came to BMW and was introduced to the market 2001, 2002, I think 2001 it was. And what is this brand about? This brand has a differentiating offer from other automotive brands, which, and that's very important, I talked about continuity over time, stays true to itself over time. You see here the old Mini Cooper, and here you see what the design team of the BMW group made out of that. So you really see the heritage, you see the roots of the brand. It's a unique appearance, a very differentiating, unique appearance with the colored frames. Downtown at night is the idea behind the corporate design. Very unconventional in presenting the brand and the product. Unexpected when we talk about communication. These are some elder communication, but still there is the same idea behind it. You have this black advertisements, you have a frame, and then often you see this often at airports, you have a really 3-dimensional car or something like that. And this is something you see it once and you never forget that. And Mini, in comparison to BMW or especially to Audi or other brands, they do not have such a huge communication budget. So with this unconventionality, this unexpectedness, they gain attention, and they, to my mind, in the last 10 years, did an excellent job on that. But, and that's also very important, with relevant and credible messages to the target group. Experience yourself. It's always with a twinkle in the eye what Mini is doing. It's not conventional automotive communication. Often provocative, which is also in the genes of the brand. Here you see, don't be a gas hole. Or this is Böser Mini, so bad Mini. This is a black leather whip. This is was a big billboard in Hamburg at the Reeperbahn, which is the red light district. And so this gained attention as well. So all this below the line activities, this is something Mini is pretty different to other automotive brands. Or years ago, when they introduced the Mini Cabrio, always open, again a twinkle in the eye. Most automotive brands tend to make a nice picture of a car, have a nice headline, have a logo on the right-hand side, and that's the advertisement of a car. And here again, Mini went a different way with a twinkle in the eye, and a very holistic branding approach. Also, the behavior of the people is different. When you go to a Mini dealership, or there is a fair, and you go to the Mini fair booth, and then later on you go to BMW, or you go to Mercedes, or to Fiat, or whatever, you experience it differently. This was the fair booth on the International Automotive Fair in Frankfurt when the Mini Clubman was introduced to the market. And so it was a discotheque. So there were DJs, and the entire behavior of Mini is differently to other brands. And for example, I don't know if it's the same here, but in Germany, when you have a service done on your car, on your Mini, and you come back, then there is a sign of paper around the steering wheel. I missed you, because people say that they have a very emotional relationship to their car. Some people, that's market research says that, give names to their cars. I mean, that's crazy, but that's what happens in some companies, and this has also to do with how this brand is treated, from behavior to the entire chain of experience, or brand experience. That's how we call that. So wherever you meet that brand, you see that it's differently, that it's provocative, that it's with a twinkle in the eye. So what can we learn from that example? Strong brands, or really strong brands, have a differentiating offer. They have a unique appearance, relevant and credible messages, and typical behavior. So when you look at that example, branding is much more than communication. Often people say, okay, I need a new brand, so let's change the advertising agency. You won't make a good brand out of that. It's much more. It's the people within the company. It's more something. We've heard a lot about culture. So branding has a lot to do with brand behavior and with culture. Okay. So all now this fancy, this car brand, or in the beginning this consumer brands. So you might say, oh, nice, but that only works in the consumer goods industry. I mean, B2B is different. B2B is like Germans, rational, very rational, and structured, and it's all only facts and figures. I don't know if that's like that. Most of the most customers we gain in the last 3 years are B2B customers, because also in the B2B business, branding is very, very important. And here's one example. I hope that it works here too, because in most countries over the world, it already works. Does anybody of you know a case? This case. A case has more than 100 or 1,000 words. What is in it? What is that? What type of case is that? Nobody? Doesn't work.
No, I'm working. It's working tools.
It's working tools, yes. It's a brand, Hilti. A status symbol for a whole generation, mainly male. But a status symbol, so, Hilti's, no, not Hilti, Bosch. I used to work for Bosch Power Tools, and Bosch, they did research, and they identified in focus groups that there are some handymen on a building site who have the Bosch drill hammer within a red case, because this red case is showing that this handyman has competence. And that's a problem for a brand like Bosch. And Bosch is not one brand. I mean, it's also a strong brand. But this Liechtenstein company, Hilti, they really did one of the, to my mind, one of the best branding jobs. Outperform, outlast. Built on one central idea again. And they push this in communication. They have very, very strong codes in communication. When you take the time and visit their website, they have this. When we talk about the picture concept, they have this black and white with the red box, with the red products, and so we call that brand codes. They're very, very strong brand codes, which are easy to be recognized. Very focused in its message. Outperform, outlast, very self-confident. What does it take to be the best? Ask Hilti. Hilti outperform, outlast. So very, very self-confident. And this is risky because you have to prove it with your offer. And that's what Hilti does. Proven by superior products in their category. And I had the chance to attend a presentation of the chief designer of Hilti regarding the brand. And the interesting thing was that it was a day like today. This guy then said, "Okay, let's make a break for 5 minutes because I can tell you a lot of the brand of our brand. You can experience it." And then they had this one big concrete blocks of concrete outside. And it was 1 meter by 1 meter, and they had these big drill hammers, and they said, "Okay, take one and do it," and we did it, and it was like really like going into a cheese. It was so easy, and we had no questions anymore about the quality, and that's what they did, and that was really emotional for man, at least. So proven by superior products, but not only the products established by an innovative sales concept with high service value. So it's a B2B brand. Normally you don't find that brand in a DIY store. But so they have a total cost of ownership analysis they conducted and installed a Hilti fleet management. On the spot at all channels, showrooms, Hilti brand stores for a product like this with relevant information. And very, very important, this brand can also be experienced internally. Within a brand academy in Schaan in Liechtenstein, they have a brand academy. And we did last year a research on brand knowledge within companies. And that was really, we asked 130 companies or brand managers in companies, and the result was that in more than 50% of the companies, the own employees didn't know what their own brand should be about. And if that's the case, we don't need to talk about holistic brand experiences. And the issue brand implementation, internal branding, that's how we call that, is one of the key success factors of branding. First, we have to get the idea of the brand within the heads of our employees, and in the next step, we can think about how we get it out there in the market. And the brand Hilti, in order to support that, can also be experienced in production. The customers notice the employees' pride in their brand. Take your time and talk to a sales rep of Hilti. You will be impressed. And this is already fostered during apprenticeship. So within education, within the company, people explain the values of the brand and work on that. So again, as we've seen with the case of Mini, 4 dimensions: a differentiating offer, a distinctive appearance, relevant, credible messages, and typical behavior. And a German Brand 1, a German branding and management magazine, quoted in December 2008, Hilti is a Rolls-Royce on the building side, but more innovative. And Hilti gains a price premium in some products of more than 90% in comparison to other big brands in the same product category. And this is where branding comes also to really business success. So a summary of all these general aspects of branding. What is crucial, or what are crucial success factors of branding? So the first, what I would like to communicate to you today is, what do we need to become a strong brand? So in theory, pretty easy. Focus the activities on one central idea, homogenize the appearance at all contact points, and then the most difficult one, ensure continuity over time. Give your customers the time to learn what you are, who you are, and what you stand for. The other thing is, what do we need to do to become or to make a brand a strong brand? 4 dimensions determine the brand success. So the first is a differentiating offer. The offer really needs to differentiate, as we've seen with the Mini case, as we have seen also with the Hilti case. A distinctive appearance. We need to have, that's what we call strong brand codes, like the Mini frame, the frame game. So it's a black communication with colored frames. And this is something which is really unique within the entire automotive industry. Or with Hilti, we've seen that too. Relevant and credible messages and typical behavior. Typical behavior, very important when you have a service brand, an insurance company. Like, we come to this the example of IKEA, where it's very, very important how your people behave. So this is about the general aspects of branding. So what should then be considered when leveraging a brand to foreign markets? We were talking about export marketing, and when we talk about exporting products, we want to sell products in the market, and we sell products under a name, under a brand name, under a brand. So brands need to be considered when talking about export marketing, or when we want to increase the export rate. So now you have like IKEA, you have a business, and this business model works in your country, and you say, hey, that's cool. Now we go out there in the market, and we go to other countries. So you believe, hey, my business model works highly similar everywhere. If that's the case, like IKEA, they have the message that the idea behind the brand are affordable solutions for everyday living. And IKEA, as a brand, as a company, has everything you need to live and make a home. And the key success is the price tag is designed first, so really a market-oriented approach, and the unconventionality and the social environmental awareness, and a cost-conscious sensitive design. So if you have an idea, like, if you are like IKEA, you will globalize your products and services in order to gain to realize economies of scale. Like the Billy Regal, the shelf Billy, which IKEA sells all over the world and probably here too, and apply the same or similar marketing and distribution activities, like the same-day home delivery IKEA introduced in the UK and in many other countries, again in order to realize economies of scale and standardize the communication mix to yield large economies of scale. You see here the different the various 2012 IKEA catalogs in the different markets, in the different languages. 200 million households receive an IKEA catalog each year. That's what IKEA is telling on their website, and with a high degree of standardization. But standardization comes to an end as soon as the brand values and the communication interferes with cultural imperatives. So, where's this women gone? In Saudi Arabia, this is where IKEA is too, you're not allowed to present pictures of women in communication. So there is a conflict, a cultural conflict, and this has to be considered when expanding your business to other markets. This is a very extreme example, but this is a lesson also IKEA had to learn. Are there other lessons we should or we can learn when we talk about branding in export marketing? I always like or learn best when I have a look at some of the possibilities to fail or to fail, or what went wrong with some companies. And yeah, American brands and American corporations are pretty good in that when we talk about export marketing and branding. So it has perhaps something to do with the self-perception, but yeah. I don't know if Walmart tried to enter the market here too, but they did in Germany in 1997. Walmart, yeah, the biggest retail or food chain yeah, I guess still in the world, very clearly dominating the US retail market, and expanded to Germany in the year 1997. They bought a German competitor, and then they relabeled it and went with a big bang to the market. Very self-confident, and said, okay, now we really want to conquer, and we will conquer Germany in a short period of time. And what they did is, hey, our concept works in the US pretty good. We are dominating the market, so let's do it in the same style, in the same manner, in the same attitude. And they believed that Germans like this US style of service too, and the US style of employer branding. That's how we call that, of how an employer has to be trained, should be trained, and how he has to react. Very standardized. Employees were trained what to say, when to say, how to say it, and we were not used to that. We are very structured, but only to a certain extent, and we would like to define the structure we are following, and we didn't want to have that defined by an US American corporation. So yeah, Big Bang in Germany, yes, it was it. Walmart, no thank you. A failure in Germany. Will the retailer survive here? Big investments were done, and it was a really big disaster. 2006, they went back to the United States, and the CEO of Walmart Germany, David Weil, stated or quoted at that time, "It does no good to force a business model onto other country markets just because it works well somewhere else." So we have to take a look at cultural differences in the market, cultural attitudes, and also the needs of the people. And another example, again, I mean, that's really by chance. You would see many US examples now. Kellogg's. Kellogg's, also one of the big global brands in the cereal business or in the breakfast business. They wanted to conquer the Indian market. And I don't know who of you has been in India. It's a different breakfast there. And that's what Kellogg's tried to change. So, but in India you have to change a whole culture, a whole national culture in doing that. So Indian people prefer to have different things at breakfast. So it's like chicken or something which we have for lunch or for dinner. That's what they have for breakfast. And then cereals like cornflakes or smacks or however these brands, they don't fit too good in that. So what they did then is they tried different types of cereals, but they weren't able to succeed there, so it didn't work too good. Another example of that is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola also went, I mean, more than 1 billion people, so everybody's going there and wants to export to that country, besides China. So Coca-Cola went there, and they bought Thumbs Up, which is a local brew, a local Coca-Cola or black water brand, and they wanted to have that as an entry strategy, and then later on bring that as a premium brand. The problem was that this was much more sparkling and much more fuzzy than the other one, and in the Indians really liked that. So to their perception, that was lower quality, and therefore they weren't able to make that one, so it was always like Thumbs Up is a better brand, and really had much more market shares, and right in the beginning, and cost them a lot of effort, and they had to change also partly the recipe in order to be successful with the Coca-Cola brand too. So what we can learn here is that also, especially in the food industry, we have to look at local requirements, at local preferences, these are some. It's not only the misjudging of the customer needs and market situations. That's only half of the story. When we talk about export marketing, we have to think about other things too. For example, Toyota had to experience that years ago when they wanted to enter with the MR2, the French market, because MR2 in French is MR2. And MR2 is pretty close to merde, and that's what it sounds like in France, and it's pretty difficult to sell a product there and with a name like that. So MR was then the product name, or, and this is a funny one too, nothing sucks like an Electrolux. Entering the US market is probably not a good idea with such an advertising agency, but that's what it's no fakes here. It's reality. I mean that happens when it's too centralized, and I mean it was probably a very good Swedish intention to do that, to talk about the power of the 2000 series, but that didn't work too well. Or years ago, the Ford with the product name Pinto. So in the 80s, they introduced that it was specially made for also for the export market and for southern America and in Brazil. For Brazilian men, Pinto relates to other small things, and therefore this wasn't a good name too. So this can happen when we talk about internationalization of brands or product names. Or Procter & Gamble, one of the most successful fast-moving consumer goods corporations in the world, the biggest at least, failed too. In Germany, that was a really interesting marketing case. They had for many, many years the brand Ferry Ultra, with a very, very, in Germany, famous advertising spot, which was called Villa Riva and Villa Bajo. In Spain, because Germans like to make holiday in summer where it's warm and where the sun is shining, and therefore they had this Villa Riva, where they had Ferry Ultra, and Villa Bajo, which was lower, where they had a different one. And so they had to do, after a party, they had to do this washing up, and then this TV spot ended with while Villa Bajo is still doing the cleaning up, the washing up, Villa Riva is partying again, because they had Ferry Ultra, obviously, la la la. So this was very exciting. At that time, Germans loved that, and they had a market share of 17%, which is unbelievable in a market like that. And then they said, hey, come on, international standardization. The global brand is Dawn. And it's in what they call the $1 billion club. So this brand is making more than $1 billion turnover each year. So they said, okay, we would like to have that 17% of Fairy too. So let's do it. Let's make 100% standardization and then they introduced Dawn to the market. They did it for 3 years. The market share fell down to lower than 3%. So they lost really big money. And I think a few of the managers lost their hats too. And 3 years later, they introduced Fairy again. Fairy is back. Villariba fired again, is celebrating again. So they try to cope with that. And now it's around about 4% market share, 4.7 at the moment. So this is the failure which even Procter & Gamble with big advertising power couldn't cope. So just a few examples on that. What can we learn by that? What can we learn when we talk about export marketing? A bit provocative, but in leveraging your brand to foreign markets, you have to consider that other cultures live other way of daily life. I mean, the Germans, yes, they are structured. Most of them, I'm not so German. Most of them are really always on time, and this is very important for them too, that everything is standardized and structured. And the Spanish people, they do have a siesta, and they were grown up with it, and they like it. And when you are there, you will like it too. But so markets and preferences function differently, and they show varying needs and preferences. For example, L'Oreal, they have to face with that. They have to cope with that, sorry. So there are some markets, like the Asian markets, where it's the white perfect, which is a beauty, the ideal of beautiness. And then in Spain, for example, you need to be brown, or you need to have a good brown tan. Otherwise, it's not really beautiful. And now it's getting a bit more difficult. Brands, most of the brands do have a heritage, and you can't change the heritage within a day or within a year. For example, when we talk about Jaguar, in the traditional perceived brand image is in Britain, in Great Britain, is exclusiveness. So it's classy, traditional, established. That's what this brand image is about. The intended brand image is Jaguar, a racing heart. That's why they do all the sporty cars at the moment, like design, luxury, performance. And in Germany, I don't know how it is here, it's a Britishness which Jaguar is about. And that's why we in the last years had a big problem with that brand, because many of these cars, they had nothing to do with our perception of Britishness. Conservative, eccentric, distinctive. So, and this is something we have to keep in mind, that our brands do have an heritage, and this heritage is often different in the different markets. And this was new for me, but with our German glasses, or with the German view on the thing, for us it's clear that the car was invented by Wolf Benz. But you shouldn't tell the story in the US market, because they don't believe you. It's Ford, Henry Ford, who made it. So if you go to the US as Mercedes-Benz and tell them, we were the first, I think you have a problem. Because it's a matter of national, how do they say, it's a CIA issue then, or whatever, I don't know. And you do not need to standardize everything. This is Unilever, who's going a different way. When you talk about exporting or addressing different markets, and you buy a brand you can standardize also behind the brand name. You can already realize economies of scale. to a great extent if you standardize iconographic codes addressing markets. So the brands or the brand names are different. Langnese in Germany, I don't know what it's here, Eskimo or Ola, Frigo, whatever. It was an M&A strategy which led to a picture like that. But the products behind it are everywhere. You can buy a Magnum. And you can keep your brand authentic, so your international brand strategy, through addressing local relevant topics. And this is this car rental company advertisement in French. Do it like Madame Bruni does. Choose a small French model. So with always brand typic, with a twinkle in the eye, but focusing on French issues. Or interesting for me as a branding guy, we always say don't fool around with the logo. But this was an advertisement in the US in the United Kingdom during the last election, and it was pretty successful. Soon the country goes to the polls to give their vote to a party, and BMW is giving change to personalize a car depending on political preferences, colors of major UK parties. And this was it was a pretty good success in the United Kingdom, another thing is General Electric, as one of the global B2B brands is doing at the moment. They understood now that this US-American imperialism doesn't work too good, and that customers around the world actually prefer identification of a brand with local issues or with local topics, and that's what they do at the moment. This is something you should keep in mind when you think about exporting a brand. So another thing, please be aware, telling customers your success story in your domestic market may be a good argument for your success, but be careful with associations related to your domestic country. I know only a study about the brand Germany in the entire, which was conducted in many different markets, and how German brands are, for example, perceived in China. They all stand for German virtues, German like quality, like engineering competence. That's what German companies are standing for, also because of the German automotive industry. This affects the image of German corporations in the entire world. Italy is standing for fashion. So what is your country standing for? Is there something, and what could it be, and how can you leverage it, and should you talk about that or better not? I don't know. But that's something you always have to keep in mind, because when you go into a foreign market, it's a question how to communicate your heritage. For example, when you are a watch company like Tissot, I mean Switzerland is standing for quality, and they are standing for the watch industry in the entire world, for the premium industry. So it's probably a good idea to even incorporate the Swiss cross into your logo and talk about about that. But I don't know if was the Swedish hospitality in an IKEA store in, I don't know what that is, which country, whatever. But I don't know if they even know what that is. And therefore, we always have to try to look at our own brand through the glasses of the customer in the specific market in order to answer that question, how to get along with the heritage. So, what can we learn out of that? I think when we talk about export marketing and branding in the context of exporting the business, we need to consider cultural imperatives or cultural differences. We need to re-examine naming and brand codes. Can we do it? Can we transfer it one-to-one, or do we have to adjust? We need to adjust brand in general. We need to adjust brand messages to local content. We need to deliver these messages through the right channels in the right manner. So this is probably different from country to country. And brands should stay authentic while showing local closeness. And I would like to summarize and end with one quotation out of the annual report 2011 from IKEA, where they say, "We continue to grow and develop with co-workers, customers, suppliers and partners in 41 countries, and everyone can see our Swedish roots. But they can hear the accent of each of these countries too." And I think that's, when we talk about branding and export marketing, that's probably the key learning I have today, that it's not one extreme or the other extreme. So it's really it's a balancing game. And that's my last chart. I thank you for your attention, and look forward to an interesting discussion.
Yes, thank you. We are a little bit out of the timetable, but maybe one quick question from the audience. Mr. Saksas, I guess.
What about small startup companies started from zero? Because those examples feel like it's difficult to get them, take those examples, because imagine you are just starting from zero. How to develop your international brand? Where do you start from?
I mean, the process of developing a national or an international brand is the same process. The only thing is which markets I have to analyze. And I believe that for example, the question how you get along with your national background, this is